So here we go. Usually everybody knows the origins of Batman, but ironically enough, there are only two feature movies that actually depict these origins on the big screen. That is because not even Batman 89 showed his origins with much detail. So basically we have Batman Mask of the Phantasm from 1993 and Batman Begins from 2005 as the two big movies focusing on the origins of Batman. That being said, why not put these two movies to battle each other to complete the trilogy of battles that we had in this channel with Batman 89 versus Batman Returns and Batman Forever versus Batman and Robin that you can also watch it here. To do this, I created 5 categories so we can decide which of these movies told the best origin story. And these categories are Best Origin, that is, which movie shows the best origin and the reasons for Bruce Wayne to become Batman. Best Journey, which means which movie developed the transformation into the Batman persona better. Best Villains, Best Action, even though we have an animation and live action movie, let's see which one has the best action scenes. And finally, the best ending, to see which movie leaves the character in the best position for the future of each version. And starting with Best Origin, from the get-go, I can say that in my opinion, both movies have absolutely perfect depictions of Batman's origins. So it will be very difficult to decide this category. We also have to contextualize the fact that Batman Mask of the Phantasm was a feature done during the seasons of Batman the Animated Series, so we already had an established character in the TV series, but in that show, the origins of Batman were never portrayed, so this movie serves as this story that fills the gap and shows us how this character became what he is. And in Batman Begins, we have a reboot of the character in the movie series, starting a new version of him completely from zero. So in Mask of the Phantasm, we find Batman during the current times, while we have flashbacks showing his origins in the past with big time jumps. And Batman Begins is not that far from that. We also have Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham in the present times, while we see flashbacks of how he got into that position. The difference is that in this movie, we see a much deeper depiction of his training process by the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul. And even though it is a step-by-step origin story for a superhero, with him gaining his abilities and dominating his fear, these first hour and 10 minutes of Batman Begins are simply fascinating. It really brings us to this mysterious and cathartic transformation of a simple man becoming something else, becoming a master of his own abilities and objectives. And that also goes to the actual origin, that is the Wayne murders, which for me is the best version of this moment of Bruce's life, because his parents' killer is basically Joe Chill, and that's it. A random criminal that tried to mug them during one night and assassinated both. And I also like the fact that Thomas Wayne in this version never tried to jump on the criminal and stop him. It really shows that Joe Chill was a desperate guy that lost control and basically murdered them, which represents exactly what a horrible city with people dying on the streets and desperate to survive by any means would do in a situation like this. It doesn't have the elements of somebody hired this criminal to murder the Waynes, or the criminal was somebody wearing a clown mask, or it was the Joker himself who killed them. It is the most simple and raw version of this moment. Plus, we see Bruce Wayne decades later deciding that he would want revenge against Joe Chill by killing the man himself in the trial, but then coming to terms that revenge is not the answer, and that's a very powerful moment. While in Mask of the Phantasm, we don't really get the Wayne murders or any of these other elements that made Bruce Wayne decide to become Batman. And that is not exactly a problem with the animation, because it chooses another path to tell this origin. But I still prefer more to see the whole depiction since those days of the Wayne murders until the moment he finally became the Batman. So in this case, the point goes for Batman Begins. Now going to the best journey, now this category is a little different because, like I said, in Batman Begins, we get to see the whole process of training for the character Bruce Wayne to become Batman. And they are perfect scenes of training, really showing how gradually this character starts to learn how to control his own fear and manage his abilities to fight the enemy. But like I also said, it still is a step-by-step superhero origin story. And I think in Mask of the Phantasm, we have a much more interesting and nuanced version of the development. We don't get to see the training and the whole process of becoming the hero. We get only one scene of him practicing jiu-jitsu, and that is not enough. But there is this fascinating element of, in one point of the story, Bruce Wayne meets one very interesting and good girl called Andrea Beaumont, and this happens exactly in the moment of his life that he is becoming the Caped Crusader, or that he already decided to become the hero. We even get scenes with his first days fighting crime, and by the way, both movies have a very similar version of the scene where Bruce Wayne is not embodying the persona of Batman, but he is trying to fight crime, wearing just a ski mask and basically acting as a vigilante without a symbol. But in Mask of the Phantasm, we have this very dramatic moment that Bruce Wayne starts to deviate from this path when he starts to fall in love for Andrea Beaumont, realizing that even though he made this promise to his parents, he might get a chance to have a happy and normal life with this woman, which gives us one of the most beautiful and tragic scenes of the animation, where Bruce Wayne, in front of his parents' grave, basically begs them to relieve him from this promise, saying, "I didn't count on being happy." This is the closest we ever got, I think, in any media to this character's heart and desires. And Andrea shows up soon after, tranquilizing him and saying that maybe they already relieved him from the promise, bringing her into his life. What a beautiful moment, and what a great character that is original of this version of the animation. But then we know that things don't go as well once she decides to leave his life because she was forced by her own father due to his involvement with the criminal life, which makes him run away from Gotham with her. Something that completely crushes Bruce Wayne's heart, and in another powerful and dramatic moment, he decides to go back to his original plans and dress the cow in a fantastic scene where even Alfred gets scared by the first sight of Batman. So I don't know, I love both developments of the character, but I think in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, this nuance and powerful moment makes the whole thing even more interesting. So, point for it. Now moving to the best villains category, I think this is a very easy category to decide because Batman Begins is not very famous for their villains. We only got a powerful presence in The Dark Knight with the Joker. But in this movie, we have an interesting dynamic between Ra's al Ghul and Batman because initially we have the whole idea of the Harry Ducard identity disguising the real identity of Ra's al Ghul being the mentor of Batman. It's a very cool idea, but we get too little of the character in this movie, only in the beginning, which we don't know that it is actually Ra's al Ghul, and then with the big reveal at the end. And besides him, the only other villains that we have are Carmine Falcone, which the version in this movie is a good version, but he is basically a B villain. And then we get the Scarecrow in the skin of the actor Cillian Murphy, which for me and for many people, I think, is the greatest disappointment of this story because he's also a B villain, completely underused. The whole idea of being just a guy wearing a bag in his head pisses me off until today. And for me, this is a big problem because the Scarecrow is my top one villain from the Batman Rogues Gallery. You can watch my ranking here in the channel if you want. So yeah, in a great movie, this is my only negative. While in Batman Mask of the Phantasm himself is a very interesting villain, especially visually, because it is this version of the Death Reaper with elements of a ghost, but at the same time having this technological side to it, because we know that it's not actually a ghost, but someone dressed as a ghost using smoke and other elements to create the illusion that it is a ghost. My only disappointment with the character is that in the end it is revealed that he is actually Andrea Beaumont, and it feels a little lackluster that a tiny girl like her is this big and intimidating villain, but it makes sense thematically to the story because Andrea Beaumont is basically a ghost from the past of Bruce Wayne coming back to haunt him in a certain way. But then we also have the Joker as a main villain here, especially because of his involvement with the criminal gangs in the time that Andrea Beaumont's father also was involved with them. And it's interesting that this movie shows the origins of Batman, at the same time showing a little bit of the origin of the Joker, or at least his identity before becoming the villain as Jack Napier, a very close version to the Jack Nicholson one in Batman 89, who also was a guy working under the wings of gangsters. Plus, his presence in this story is very powerful, and as usual, the Joker is an asshole in this movie, destroying the lives of everyone around him, especially Andrea Beaumont. So there's no other way. Point for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now moving to the best action, like I said, it's difficult to compare a live action movie with an animation, but I do believe Batman Mask of the Phantasm has great action scenes. There is a subplot in the movie where Batman is being accused of being the responsible for the murders of some gangsters in the city, even though it is the Phantasm who is committing these murders. So there's a point in the story where the cops start to chase Batman, and there is this big chase that takes place over the rooftops of the buildings and in one abandoned construction site. Also in the climax, we have a great fight between Batman and Joker, probably the best one in the whole animated series, which we have the characters in a maquette of a futuristic city, and they look like giant kaiju monsters battling each other between the buildings. Once again, a display of creativity that the creators of the show, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, have when creating action scenes for this series. Plus, we also have a battle mid-air with the Joker wearing a jetpack, with both of them fighting while flying as well. And then in Batman Begins, I think the action scenes are also fantastic. The big problem of the movie are the fight scenes. We all know that in terms of cutting and editing, Christopher Nolan exaggerates and makes the whole thing very choppy, but the rest of the scenes are fantastic. We have the whole battle in the monastery in the beginning of the movie. Then we also have the long chase with the Batmobile in the midsection of the story. In fact, I made a video ranking the greatest car chases in Batman movies, and you can also watch this video right here. And I absolutely love this chase. Is a fantastic display of the Batmobile and its gadgets. And of course, we have the final fight between Batman and Ra's al Ghul that takes place in the high-speed train going through the middle of Gotham, which is a cool scene, but it's mostly okay. I don't think it's one of the greatest in the trilogy. That being said, it's very hard to compare, but unfortunately, I will take into consideration that Batman Mask of the Phantasm doesn't have a car chase with the Batmobile, which is something that I would like to have in all the Batman movies. So with that little consideration, I will give the point to Batman Begins. Now to finish, the best ending, and both of these movies have fantastic endings. The Mask of the Phantasm has a very tragic ending, as most of the movie is, with Andrea Beaumont disappearing after supposedly killing the Joker, and she decides to move on with her life away from her beloved Bruce Wayne, which again crushes the hero's heart and sends the message that even though both of these people were meant to be, they cannot be. And rarely we were able to see Batman so sad and destroyed inside by such event. Now in Batman Begins we have the complete opposite. We have a hero that is completely formed and ready to fight the criminality in Gotham. And this is very exciting, especially because of one of the most amazing cliffhanger moments in any movie with the Joker card. And I remember cheering and being so excited the first time I saw this movie in the theaters when it was released. A whole new world of Batman was presented to me, and I could not be happier. That being said, even though both endings are great, the point goes to Batman Begins, which makes it the winner of this battle. Now, making my final considerations, I don't have a favorite between these two movies. In fact, I actually believe both have deeper connections than we might think. Batman Begins and the trilogy of Christopher Nolan gets many discrete inspirations from Batman the Animated Series. And in these two movies, we have the ski mask scene that I already mentioned, but even the closing shot of both pictures have Batman descending upon the camera and the cape covering the frame and fading to black before the credits roll. So in the end, both of them are fantastic origin movies, and I actually hope that nobody else tries to make another origin movie to Batman, because for me, both of them are very definite in this area. And this is it. What do you think? Which of these movies is your favorite Batman origin story in the cinema? Comment below. And if you love Batman as I do, please don't forget to leave a like in this video and also leave your beloved subscription so we can keep talking about the Batman universe and also DC universe in general. Alright? See you in the next Bat video and bye bye.